Esther to adjust. Brakes are hopefully bleeding themselves. Just buzz this nut off. It's really annoying me. Back box is dented. Damaged the paint a bit there, touching the rear panel, which is obviously not going to be any good. My beautiful girlfriend Kat has arrived. Good friend Wes has arrived. Aussie lump in the base, R4i. Rocking a MH decor as well. Loads of surface rust all over it. Fiesta Beast, check this thing out. Serious looking Mk1 Escort. Mk2 Escort RS2000. Another 3-door. Hello and welcome to this video. I'm Marcus Hayes and today I'm round the garage in the sunshine with Esther, my ST170 powered Mk1 Escort. Now I'm going to be taking this car to a car meet this evening. Need to get her cleaned up before then. She got absolutely filthy on our little adventure to Herbie's Diner recently. Many bugs lost their lives on that trip. Moment of silence. Anyway, before I give her a wash, I want to have a look at a couple of little things. But before I do that, I'm going to jump in Esther's cockpit and talk about something that I said I wasn't going to talk about again. Alright, so in a recent video, I was talking about the damage that I found in the boot floor of this car. And I was basically responding to some of you guys that got in touch with screenshots and made me realise that the damage hadn't happened since I picked the car up from the paint shop, because the damage can be seen in the video where I picked the car up from the paint shop, although it is hardly noticeable when you're looking inside the boot. I then looked back at some old footage that I had to try and determine whether it happened when the accident happened or afterwards. And in the footage that I've got of just after the accident, the damage is clearly not there. So in that recent video, I said something along the lines of, I now know it must have happened either in between the accident and it going to the paint shop or at the paint shop. But I want to make it clear that, in my opinion, there is no way that it happened at the paint shop. Gavin and his team's reputation speaks for itself. I probably should have phoned them to ask them if they remember seeing the damage there. But, you know, I was so not bothered about it that I didn't want to bother them about it. But I genuinely believed and still believe that there's no way it happened at the paint shop. It was just that I had realised that it didn't happen after I picked the car up from the paint shop. Anyway, since then, I've been in touch with Gavin at the paint shop and he's very kindly offered to repair that damage for me for absolutely free, which is amazing. I have asked him if we can wait until the winter time because obviously I want to use the car during the summer, and he's agreed. So yeah, it will be getting repaired by Gavin and his team. You know, it doesn't have to be a major job. They don't have to repaint the whole of the inside of the boot. It's only going to be a bit of a panel beating and a local blowing. You know, you can't notice it when the tank's in there, and once I've got my spare wheel post in there, you definitely won't be able to see it. And yeah, underneath, I'm just going to bung some paint on at some point with a brush just to stop it rusting. And yeah, it will get repaired at some point. So I hope that clears it up. You know, it might have looked like I was potentially pointing my fingers at the paint shop, but in my opinion, it didn't happen at the paint shop. It would have happened between the accident and it going to the paint shop. But there's obviously no way of me knowing for sure. Alright, so if you've been watching my videos, you'll know that I recently fitted these new carbon fibre quarter bumpers to replace the old ones that were fitted. And I was saying in that video that I need to adjust how this bumper iron, or bumper carbon, is sitting, just to lower it a bit, and then this passenger side one will be nice and level. The driver's side one actually looks pretty good. And I remember when I fitted the old carbon fibre bumpers that I had to do a similar thing with the bumper iron, you know, raise one of them or lower one of them. I'm guessing that I actually lowered the driver's side one, because what I realised when I was removing the old carbon bumpers is that this hole here was a bit lower than, you know, the other three. So yeah, I think I lowered that iron, which then sort of raised this bit of the bumper to make those ones look level. So I think what I'm going to do is lower this side's bumper iron just to bring the inside of that bumper straighter. Anyway, I'm not going to crack on with that right now because I've had some more advice when it comes to bleeding the brakes on Esther. Now, because she's got a bias pedal box, it can be a bit of a nightmare. And what a couple of people have said to me recently is, because you've got a bias pedal box which essentially pushes 2 master cylinders at once, one for the front, one for the rear, you have to bleed the front and the rear brakes at the same time. You can imagine that if you get someone to push the pedal and then release the pressure from just the rear, the pressure of the front brake system is going to prevent the pedal going all the way down and then prevent you getting all the air out. So yeah, you need to bleed the front and the rear at the same time, which means you need at least 3 people. One pushing the pedal and then one cracking off one of the front bleed nipples, and then another person cracking off the only rear nipple, because there's only one on these cars. Now, I'm round here on my own, but a couple of people have also got in touch and said that they're able to bleed their brakes on their own by gravity bleeding them, which basically means you just crack the nipples off and obviously have a tube on there going into a bottle and just let it slowly trickle out, along with any air bubbles. And while that's happening, you just have to make sure that you keep topping up the reservoirs. So seeing as I'm going to be around here for a few hours, I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to hook up a pipe and a bottle to each one of the 3 nipples, crack them all off, and hopefully it will expel any air bubbles, as long as I remember to keep going around and topping up the reservoirs so that I'm not introducing extra air into the system. Yeah, they should bleed themselves, and then later on I should be able to nipple the nipples back up, and then we'll see if the brakes are any better. And there we go. That's the rear one, dripping into the bottle very slowly, and we've got the same thing going on the 2 fronts. And as I mentioned, I've just got to keep topping up the reservoirs. Alright, so while Esther's brakes are hopefully bleeding themselves, I'm now going to crack on with getting this bumper to be a bit straight. As I mentioned before, the bumper iron is actually bolted through where the anti-roll bar bracket is bolted to the car. On a Mk1 Escort, this is actually separate. There's 2 other mounting points for the bumper iron. But yeah, I need to basically loosen these nuts, and then I'll be able to pull the bumper iron off. I think first I'll disconnect the nuts that are on the back of these Allen key button head screws and just pull the bumper off, and then get the bumper iron off. Alright, so I'm going to have to put a spanner on the bolt that's obviously going through this nut, which are down there. I think it's going to be easier to get on the bolt from the other side with a socket rather than a spanner. So yeah, that's on there, good. And if I hold on to the ratchet, I should be able to just buzz this nut off. Just like that. Yeah, just same again with the other one now, which is a bit more awkward because it's right in the corner. I managed to get a spanner on there, and it's just hanging down enough for me to grab hold of. Don't want it spinning and hitting the wiring loom that's in there. So, as it turns out, it looks like this is the one that was modified. It's actually ovaled. So in theory, I won't even need to take this out. I can just have it like that, rather than how it was, which was like that. You can see that it is actually able to come all the way down to the bottom of this hole in the front panel. So that's as far as I'm going to be able to adjust it anyway. So yeah, no need to oval the hole out any more than it already is, so that's sweet. Just bolt it all back together now with the bumper iron in the lower position. Almost let the front reservoir get empty. Front one's definitely going down quicker than the back one. I think that's the front one. Top up this one as well. So now I can throw the bumper back on, and I've actually bought some more of these rubber O-rings now, so I can get rid of this red fibre washer thing that I used before as a temporary thing. And yeah, just put O-rings on all these bolts. It should hopefully protect the carbon. I'm also going to use locking nuts on the back, because I don't want to do the nuts up really tight so that they indent the carbon, but I also don't want them coming loose. So yeah, with these nylocks, you can leave them quite loose, but because of the nylon bit in there, they're not going to come undone. It's looking straighter already. So yeah, it's definitely looking a bit more straight. What I've just noticed is around where the bracket is, the curve of the bumper is different to where the brackets aren't, and basically what that is the shape of the bracket is leaning against the inside of this bumper, and yeah, basically forcing the curve to be a bit more open. Now what I could do is put like a rubber pad behind there maybe, just so that it, you know, squashes against that rather than changing the shape of the bumper. Or I could probably maybe shave some away from the bracket behind there to prevent that, but yeah, I can revisit that another day. For now, I'm just happy that the inside of the bumper isn't poking up like it was. Anyway, now I need to swap these red fibre washers on this bumper for the O-rings and put some nylocks on the back of there, and yeah, that's the bumper's done. This gravity bleed's costing me a fortune in brake fluid. Yeah, I think I'm going to nip up those bleed nipples now. The fronts have definitely had loads of fluid go through. Plenty in the bottom of that bottle. A little bit more on the driver's side, to be honest. Maybe that's because the driver's side one's closer to the master cylinder. I don't know. Anyway, I'm going to nip those nipples back up and then we'll see if the brakes feel any better. I'm not sure they feel any better, but I suppose the only way to test them really is a quick test drive. Marginally better, I'd say. I still need to mess about with the bias adjustment anyway, so don't need brakes. Esther's not that fast. Now, one thing that was really annoying me during the trip to Herbie's was Esther's exhaust banging. I mentioned in that video that I tried to readjust the way the back box was sitting. Before, it would bang on the axle when you went over bumps, and yeah, I readjusted it and it was not banging on the axle when you're going over bumps, but it was just vibrating and banging all the time instead. Now, I've got a Piper stainless exhaust system on this car and I love it. I love the way it fits, but I don't like how it mounts on the back box. At some point, I want to take it somewhere and get, you know, the back box mount redone. But for now, I just want to see if I can get it so it's not banging quite as much as it has been. You can actually see where the back box is dented on the top of it, where it's been banging against that thread that's poking through there, which is one of the bolts that are holding the tank stand in the boot. But yeah, the way this is mounted, it's only got one bracket on the, you know, left hand side of the back box, and it sort of mounts to the mounting point where the original exhaust hanger would be. I've actually got the original exhaust hanger here, and I actually drilled some holes to move this back when I had the old exhaust system fitted. So yeah, I should really remove that. But yeah, because it's only got a mount on that side, it, you know, it inevitably just hangs down like this. So at some point I want to get more mounts made up, maybe put one either side, and then just have a couple of those cotton reel things, you know, just drill some holes in the boot floor and have those cotton reel things bolted to the boot floor and have it supported both sides. But yeah, I'll have to take it to an exhaust place to do that, someone who can weld stainless steel. It's worth noting that this system actually came with a 2-inch tailpipe, but I had a 3-inch tailpipe welded on by Zach of Zoo Speed. Yeah, I love the look of it, you know, big bore exhaust. I think what I'm going to do for now is undo the back box where it's mounted here, just to drop it down, and then I'm going to cut that stud down a little bit. I might even replace that nut with a half nut, which is basically a nut that's thinner. Thread that on and then cut the thread of the stud flush with the nut, just so it's not poking down as much. Because although the back box isn't mounted ideally as it is, it might be better if it's not banging against that stud. So now I can get to that stud easier. And then we'll put this half nut on there. And then we'll see if we can cut it down a bit. Oh, let's just tape up the area. Yeah, we've damaged the paint. Who cares? Who cares? Yeah, we damaged the paint a bit there. The exhaust still needs to go more this way, but I think I'm going to try and rotate it from the next joint along, because there's a section around here, just behind the axle here, that actually hits the floor. Now around that area there is an extra tab on the exhaust where, you know, one of those cotton reel rubber things is supposed to go into the floor, but I haven't actually utilised that. But yeah, I think if I rotate it from the next joint down, it should bring this section away from where it's hitting the floor and ultimately make this back box sit a bit straighter. Undo this one. That's definitely rotated. Now we'll let the jack down and the exhaust has actually stayed where it was. The problem now is it's touching the rear panel, which is obviously not going to be any good. And it's really close up here as well. Yeah, I think I went a bit too far with that. Although there is another hole in this rubber mount because I actually drilled my own one and mounted it differently. So I could move this down to here. Let's drop that down. Try and redo this, but I've got a feeling it'd be too low then. So it's now not hitting the back panel. It's relatively straight. And it doesn't seem to be banging. Let's start her up and see if it's banging then, because how it was earlier, it was just banging at idle. Sweet. It's better than it was. Yeah, it actually does look quite far away from the axle, so I'm happy with that. Now, I was thinking today to have another go at trying to get Esther's new carbon grille to fit a bit better. As I mentioned before, it's not attached here because this pattern slam panel that we put on years ago has got this hole in the wrong place, so I need to maybe put a little strip of metal going from this hole along here, and then I can put a hole in the grille. Yeah, but it has been sort of poking out and it rubs on the inside of the wing there. This side's a bit worse. Yeah, it's flapping about a bit. But I think what I'm going to do is see if I can use some number plate tape or something, you know, the sticky back rubber stuff, just to poke in there, or maybe poke in there, just to hold this a bit more secure. So yeah, I'm going to see what I can do with that, and then I'm going to give Esther a quick wash off camera, and then I'll continue this video when we're on our way to the car meet later. All right, so a bit of time has passed and Esther is looking way better now. I've given her a bath. My beautiful girlfriend Kat has arrived in her plastic Fiesta that she likes to call Roger. And my good friend Wes has arrived with his Zetec turbo powered Fiesta Beast. I've had a quick wash, changed my clothes, and now we're going to be heading to the car meet. So let's hit the road. Afternoon, sir. Good afternoon. Alright, well that burger certainly filled a hole. I actually wanted the fish and chips, but they didn't have any fish. As usual, I always end up having to order my second choice here at the Ace Cafe, but food's always good, so that's cool. The car park has filled up nicely, and there's a nice mix of old and new Fords for us to check out. Got a couple of ST Fiestas parked here, and next to those we've got a really nice Olympic blue Mk1 that's getting loads of attention. Got a Cosy lump in the bay running on side drafts. Just check out the colour coded really wide RS alloys. Really tidy interior in this one as well. Got the Saybelt harnesses. Really cool switch panel. Seen this thing loads of times at Chelsea Cruise. Love it. Really nice 4-door Mark III Cortina here. Looking really good on the gold alloys. Set of Luke harnesses in there. Next to that, got a red Mk1 Escort RS2000. Rocking the Sibby spotlights on the front. I'm not sure what seats those are. I think they're quite modern, but it's got the Saybelt harnesses, RS steering wheel, got a rev counter and shift light. Moving along, got a Mark II Focus ST, which which is parked next to a really cool Safcosi Sierra. Love the Recaro interior in these. Obviously got a cover on the driver's one just to protect it. Next along, got a Mk1 Focus RS. Check that out. Those things are really expensive to buy nowadays. Next up, got a Mk3 Focus RS. Love the colour. Part next to that, we've got what I think is an XR4 Sierra or an XR 4x4. Really cool interior. Let's see if it's got a badge on it. XR4i. Really cool. Another Safcosi. Part next to that, we've got Ant's Mint Mondeo. How you doing, Ant? You alright, mate? Mondeo's rocking an MH Decor as well. Awesome. And his mate actually brought me another donor sump, which I really appreciate. That's 3 I've got now, so hopefully I'll be able to persuade the company that's doing the conversion to give me a bit of a discount. We've got a Mk3 Focus RS, and check this Mk1 Escort out. Loads of surface rust all over it, loving the patina. Check out the brown interior. Yeah, apparently this thing's got a 2.1 Pinto in it. Awesome. Wes has parked his Zetec Turbo Fiesta Beast out the way in the corner. Speaking of Fiesta Beast, check this thing out. Guessing it's running some sort of turbo lump, going by the huge intercooler hanging out the front. Mad Mark III Fiesta. Plastic windows, really extensive roll cage in there, bucket seats. Oh my days, look at the fuel cell in it and the battery box. What a machine. I'd love to know what's under the bonnet. Guessing it's the Zetec Turbo. Really smart red Cosi Escort up next to that. Look at the front lip on it, beautiful. Next to that we've got the Stormtrooper Mk3 Focus RS. See this Santa Pod, pretty tidy looking modern Mondeo. 5-litre Mustang, old Escort van sitting on pepper pots. If we go around the back, some sort of tasty exhaust. I wonder what's in the bay of that. Next to that we've got a Capri Laser. And next to that we've got a serious looking Mk1 Escort. Looks like it's space framed, at least at the front. Cosi lump in the bay. Awesome. Sparco bucket seats, TRS harnesses, OMP steering wheel, some sort of digital dash. Yeah, it looks like the whole car is space framed. What a machine. Bubble arched, sitting on really deep steel wheels. And there's the bonnet sitting under there. Wow. Ricky's here in his Mk1 that he likes to call Yogi, rocking the MH Decor on the wing. Alex brought his Mint Orion out. Really cool. Next to that got a really tasty Mk2 Escort RS2000. Love the colour. Snap-on covers on the interior. Next along got another Capri Laser. Behind that, 3-door Cosi in white. Oh my days, check that out. Awesome. The Coogan's gold Mk2 Escort gear is parked next to Scott's 2-door beige Mark II, running a Zetec Mk3 RS Focus next to that. And then next along is my piece of junk. So yeah, really cool mix of cars. Quite a relaxed, chilled out atmosphere. Well worth the trip down here this evening. Couple more cars coming in. Check out the Mk1 Cortina. Another Cosi Sierra. Making good use of his 2.1 Pinto. Had another Escort Cosworth turn up. This yellow Mk2 Escort Mexico just showed up a little while ago as well. I think it's signal yellow. Really smart engine bay. I'm guessing it's probably been switched for a 2-litre Pinto, but it's running on side draft Webers, and I think that's a Piper stainless exhaust manifold. Got another 3-door Cosi here, this time in black, and would you believe it, another 3-door black Cosi has just shown up. Starting to get dark now, but the Mk1 Cortina has got the bonnet open. Check out the original pre-crossflow in there, running on side drafts. These engines are really interesting because the inlet and the exhaust are on the same side. But yeah, they've still managed to cram a set of Webers on there. Really tidy engine bay. And over here, one of the 3-door Cosis that's just come in. It's got its engine open. The alarm's buzzing because I got too close. Everyone's getting their engine bays open. There's Yogi's ST170 lump running on twin Webers. Just missed some action on the way out. Scott's got his engine bay open, and it's also got an ST170 in there, running on bike carbs. Scott's actually thinking about taking this Mark II to one of the Santa Pod drift days soon. They are loads of fun. I really want to go back there for a drift day myself, but as you know, if you've been watching my videos, I've been plagued with oil leaks. starting to get really cold and I haven't got a hoodie with me. I'm in shorts and a t-shirt, so I'm gonna warm Esther up and we'll do the off in a minute. Alright, so with Esther tucked safely into her garage, we've jumped in Roger the Plastic Fiesta to make our way home. That was a really, really decent meet tonight at the Ace Cafe. Massive shout to the Passionford North London group for organising it. Plenty of people coming over and chatting about cars tonight, which is always really cool. So shout out to everyone who did come and say hello. And a lot of people were very happy to see Esther out tonight. Esther's exhaust was definitely not banging, well, hardly at all, to be honest. So yeah, what I did today has definitely improved how the exhaust is hanging, but I do want to take it to an exhaust place and improve it further. I'm not saying that her brakes were working any better than they have been, so I don't think the gravity bleed worked today. I think I need to try and do it with 2 other people helping me so that I can, you know, get one person pushing the pedal and then we can sort of bleed the rear brakes and the front brakes at the same time, and we'll see if that's any better. So I'll crack on with that at some point in the future. She does stop, but nowhere near as good as she should, and with her going to be getting some more horsepower at some point very soon, I really do need to get those brakes working a bit better. I am running quite a cheap bias pedal box, and I know loads of people say they're all junk except for the Gartrack one. So maybe at some point I'll end up biting the bullet and buying one of them. But yeah, I'm gonna persevere with it for now, and we'll see if we can improve things by bleeding it the other way. I want to send a massive thanks out to Ant and his mate for bringing down that other donor sump. Esther's sump is leaking even worse than it was now. I don't think I mentioned that earlier in the video. It seems to be leaking from the rear of the sump now as well as at the front where it was before. So yeah, I really need to get a decent sump on both of my cars, but I think Esther might end up getting the first one, especially because I've got some other really exciting parts that are going to be fitting to her very soon. In fact, I'm going to be ordering them in a week's time, but I'll let you know about that nearer the time. In fact, the patrons already know about those bits. Anyway, that's enough waffling. Time for me to end this video. If you did think it was any good, please do give it a thumbs up and a share. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down. Click subscribe to keep up to date with all my future uploads, and check the links in the description to my social media and my website. I'll also leave a link to my Patreon down there for any of you guys that want to jump on that. And as always, I'll leave my email address in the description for any of you that want to get in touch with me. But other than that, until next time, from me and my beautiful girlfriend Kat, thanks for watching.